This is a brief tutorial on yes-no questions and how to work those out with XBAR syntax. The question, will John read the book, is an S structure. That's the surface structure. But within the theory, it is believed that we start with the D structure. And that will be the declarative sentence, John will read the book. And that's what this structure is mapping out for us. So you'll notice that we start with the CP up here, specifier, C bar, C, and I've listed this Q here, indicating that this is going to be a question form, and so a transformation is going to take place. From there we go to the TP, MP, T bar, T, VP, the same structures that we've been working with all along. And we'll notice that we have John as the NP, will is in the tense form, and will is a modal verb or an auxiliary verb at this point. And we're going to have to do an aux inversion in order to get will to occur up here into the Q slot. So we'll move this T, this whole thing is going to get moved into the C position. These are both heads, so the head will move into another head position. And we'll get the correct sentence order for the S structure. So will John read the book? So yes/no questions are fairly easy to fairly easy to draw. All you need to remember is that you're going to have to work with the declarative sentence first. Let's try another yes/no question. So here we have, did Peter eat the apple? And in order to draw the tree appropriately, I have to get to my D structure, so I have to create the declarative sentence. So in this case, I'm going to say, Peter, eat the apple. And you'll notice that I'm not conjugating the verb eat to go with Peter at this point in time because I have some other work to do with this particular sentence. Now you may also say, why didn't you just say Peter did eat the apple? That's a perfectly acceptable sentence in English. And it is. If we are adding emphasis to a sentence, there's nothing wrong with putting did in there, and did is functioning as an auxiliary. But when we have a regular sentence in English that doesn't have an auxiliary verb in it or some type of a copula, then the idea is that we're going to have to make use of a transformational rule called do support. So here, I've drawn the tree structure for Peter eat the apple. So everything is here as we've seen before. We start with a CP structure. You'll notice that this C, I've put the plus Q indicating that a question is here, so that's going to trigger some things to happen in this sentence, such as the movement of the T into the C position. All right, everything else looks pretty much the same. Here's that T structure with T going into, that's going to be our tense part, but right now it says just plus past. So I really can't move anything up here right now because there's just nothing to move, right? This is empty. My T is empty here. So in order for this sentence to actually work and become a question, then I have to add this dummy do. But in this particular case, once it gets the past tense, it'll look like did. All right? So, and at this point, we have this aux inversion, so we're going to take did, and we're going to move it up to here, and we'll get did Peter eat the apple, so we get the right surface structure. We'll do one more example, and actually stop the recording and try to do this one yourself, keeping in mind the 3 steps that we have to do for a yes/no question. 1, make the question into a declarative. 2, draw the tree for the declarative. And 3, do the transformations that we need. And we're going to assume that the underlying structure for this is you know him. And I think in this particular sentence, you can really see the difference between saying you do know him versus you know him and the question that's there. When we put do in the declarative sentence, it definitely indicates that there's an emphasis there. So we don't want any emphasis. Right. So go ahead and do that. and stop the video. Okay, so if you're back at this point and you've already drawn your tree, you know that it's going to look something like this. CP, specifier, C bar, C, TP. And we're going to put these plus question in bracket, indicating that it's going to be a question. So TP, here's we have MP, and that's in the specifier position. T bar, T, oops, we have a VP down here, and this is pretty simple because it's U. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. All right, T here is in present tense. And then we have a specifier, V bar, V, MP, and this is such a simple MP here that I'm just going to do the triangle and put him down here. And here is no. So you know him, underlying structure. But I want to make this into a question. And because I have no auxiliary over here in this area, I simply can't take this no and put it him. Know you him? That would have been great perhaps in 12th century England, but it doesn't really work for us in present day modern English. So again, what we have to do is insert do under the T, and this is because of our do support rule, or do support transformation. And then we're going to take this, move it into C, right? And then we will find the final structure. Do you know him? So we only had to do one particular transformation, and that is the do support, and then we had to do the movement from the T to C. So that's it. So hopefully this has been helpful in walking your way through the various types of yes-no questions.